This girl who's had what looked like a Frenchie bulldog. It's not, but because it looked like an expensive dog, someone smashed the window and took her dog.
Would you believe how people actually treat these animals and the people who work with them? Hi, everybody. My name is Rebecca Rogers. I am your host, and I am so excited that you guys are joining us today, and even more excited to introduce one of my amazing friends, Nathan Kehn.
Thank you so much for having me on here.
I know you told me that we have to address the teeth situation right off the bat. Tell us why you, so people who are watching will see like an entire highway going through Nathan's mouth right now.
So for those of you who don't see, I have a massive gap between my front teeth. So you'll be hearing the lisp the entire time because I have yet to learn how to re-talk. But long story short, I had a palate expander put in. And they had to break my jaw with a hammer and chisel to make it two separate pieces. And then we have I've got a plate screwed to the roof of my mouth that every day I turn a key and my jaw gets whiter. So
every day. Is that painful?
It's not great, but after having your jaw broken with a hammer and chisel, nothing's really worse than that.
And you felt the hammer and chisel.
Yeah, so you're supposed to be in a thing called Twilight, where you're like on an IV bag and you're supposed to just be so drugged up you don't feel everything. But when they started doing the hammer and chisel, I came out of Twilight because I felt that because that is not pleasant. No. So I woke up, but I had all this stuff in my mouth, so I couldn't talk. So I just started reaching across and tapping the IV line like,
come on,
like I need more of this.
Help me.
And he stopped. He goes, wait, can you feel that? And I was like, ah. He's like, oh, yeah, we got to give him more drugs. So, yeah, I definitely got to feel. But this is good, though, because now I know about myself. If I ever get kidnapped and tortured for information, I'm not saying nothing because I didn't tell him anything while he was doing that. So I was tested and I passed. So
and what is the purpose of this? Like, what does it do?
So it's funny. The whole process started for aesthetic reasons. My dentist, he's like a celebrity dentist. He's like, your palate's really narrow. If you want that big Hollywood smile, you should look at this. And I was like, nah, I don't need that.
That's excessive.
Yeah, I was like, I'm happy with my smile. And then I went to an ear, nose, and throat doctor, and he's like, no, it's not just that. Your narrow palate is closing your sinuses. He's like, if you don't do this, you're going to need a sleep apnea mask, like all these health things. He's like, but if you do it, you're going to sleep better, you're going to breathe better, no more snoring, no more sinus infections, no bloody noses, and the big Hollywood smile. And I was like, well, let's crack this thing open. So it's been a year of process, but I've got 2 more weeks of expanding. And then we cut off the arms that are holding the teeth. And then we start Invisaligning the gap closed. And then I'm going to not look this awesome anymore.
I remember when I first asked you to do this episode, you're like, I'm going to have a gap in my teeth. I was like, I love you all the same. And just like, I know we just recorded Kara's episode, but like we've really only known each other for a year.
That blows my mind.
Isn't that
I was thinking about that because I was at a party with Kara last night. And they're like, oh, how did you guys meet? And she's like, oh, yeah, this is one of my best friends. And like, yeah, we met last year.
Like exactly a year ago when I was here for VidCon last year. And that's what I'm here again for. Isn't that wild? And now like we're all so close. And I am so obsessed with your content. Tell everyone what your handle is.
So it's Nathan the Cat Lady.
Oh, I love it. And go ahead, keep going.
Yeah, Nathan Cat Lady. I know it's the most masculine name I could come up with.
I think it's phenomenal.
Yeah, well, so when I first started coming up with names, because I originally started acting, I'm an actor, and they were like, hey, you need a following or you're not going to book jobs. And it was true. I would go to auditions and it would say name, agency, and number of followers.
Wow.
And I was like, who cares? Like I had 700 followers and I was like, I posted what I had for breakfast this morning. Nobody cares.
Right.
So started doing skits, and then I did a couple with my cats that just took off and went like crazy viral. And I went from 700 to 16,000 in less than a month. Wow. And then I was like, oh, I'm going to do some more cat videos. Nobody cared about the cats. So I was like, I'll do more me skits. No one cared about me. And then I did me with cats, went viral again. And so I went to like, in a couple months, I went up to like 25,000. And I was like, I'm going to embrace this. And so I tried Cat Daddy for a day. Did not know how many people
would misconstrue.
Yeah, I didn't know it was a thing. And I didn't know how many people in America needed daddies so bad. And all my DMs were just so weird. Like, oh, hey, daddy. Oh, there's a daddy. I was like,
Nope.
that was not what this
that's
was.
not the point. That's not what we're going
Yeah. So I was
for.
like, okay. So the girl I was seeing at the time, she was a content creator, and everyone knew me as the crazy cat lady guy. She's like, oh, where's that crazy cat lady that's always on your page? And I was like, I am a crazy cat lady, and I love the idea of embracing the stereotype and getting rid of it because
yes,
people who have cats get such a bad rap. And
we do.
It's such crap. It's such crap. And so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna embrace it. So I switched it to Nathan the cat lady, and then I'd wear bathrobes. I started like every stereotype I could. I started embracing it. Like started doing my wine Wednesdays where I drink a bottle of wine and wear a bathrobe and ride a hoverboard around. Cause I'm like, yeah, we're just bringing the cat lady back. We're
love that.
upgrading it.
And since then you've expanded on that and started your own foster program. I would love to hear more about that.
Yeah. So it was strictly entertainment for acting.
Uh-huh.
And then I met my buddy, Sterling the Trap King. And he drives around in an RV and just does TNR, trap neuter release. And he just does that for a living. And we met and I was like, oh, I have this following now. I need to start helping. So I started working with shelters, promoting them. And long story short, it was Christmas. And I got this idea, after a couple of rum and eggnogs. I was like, you know what? I was like, wouldn't it be cool if I could, because getting fosters is so hard.
Yeah.
Because the shelters, you don't want a cat in a shelter waiting for a home. It's a tiny little cubicle and they just sit there until someone adopts them. So they get fosters where cats go and stay at someone's house until they get a forever home. But everyone's like, oh, I can't afford that. I don't have this time or the space. And I was like, what if, because I have a bunch of sponsors. I was like, what if they all just donated product so that somebody got like a carrier, food, litter, toys, milk, everything they needed. And so I reached out to Stray Cat Alliance and I was like, hey, I know it's Christmas, but how do you feel about this? And she's like, oh my God, yes. Can we do that, please? I was like, cool. We'll call it Nathan's Fosters. Like I'll promote it. Will be a thing. And then I reached out to a couple of my sponsors. The first one I reached out was Catalyst Litter. I was like, hey, I had this crazy idea. You guys don't have to put in any money because this is just about getting fosters. If we had brands donate product, that would go straight to fosters to incentivize. And she goes, done. How much do you need? I love it. And I was like, I didn't even get it. Like everyone I reached out to, it was one email in. Hey, here's what I'm trying to do. Amazing. We'll send 2 pallets of food. That's cool. Awesome. How much of this unit? And everybody was like toys, carriers. Cadit provided 22 carriers. They're $80 carriers. They also gave these electric mushroom toys that are $60 mushroom electric toys and an entire like $40 tub of cat treats to just right off the bat. And I told her, I was like, now the expectation is you're not paying, but if we can get up to like 100 fosters, like you guys need to be able to scale. And they're like, yeah, let's scale. So it was really cool. We're up to 15 fosters now.
That's great.
Yeah. And at least, that's 15 cats that are not sitting in a small cubicle and are like at home, waiting it out.
And that matters. Like that's still a difference. I was just talking to another one of our friends the other day about when it comes to making a difference in the world, even just changing one person's life every day, like that still makes a difference. And so even just 15, like you aren't even doing this for a full year yet and you're already at 15 fosters. And even outside of the foster program, you still do other things when it comes to helping with TNR programs and helping go to shelters and sanctuaries and things like that. And that's just so awesome. Like when we went to Hawaii and we went to the Lanai Cat Sanctuary, that was amazing. And for people that have no idea what I'm talking about, in Hawaii, there's kind of a cat problem, and it's recently become illegal to feed strays, and to TNR, trap neuter release, is also becoming illegal. They just want the problem gone and eradicated. So Lanai was able to put together, or this one group was able to put together this sanctuary and kind of come up with an agreement with law enforcement of saying, hey, we will keep all the cats anyone finds here. We won't release. We will work towards adoption, things like that. We only ask that you don't use lethal force kind of thing on these creatures. What do you guys say about that? And they agreed, and there's now 600 cats.
It was 700.
700? Oh my God, even better.
720 or something. It was
amazing. It was, of our entire Hawaii trip, that was one of my favorite Thanks. 'Cause, you know, I love me some cats.
Oh, I know you do.
I wanted to take that one home so bad. And it was just amazing watching them thrive and be safe and taken care of and get the medical care that they need. And just knowing that there are not only people, but companies that are so willing to put forth that effort and help people with that problem. Like it's crazy. And it's not even just cats. There is such a problem in the world with too many animals, whether people are being irresponsible or people aren't getting their pets spayed or neutered or anything like that. Like someone that works at a shelter sent me a story of how, you know, she was putting together this puppy adoption and it looked like a forever home. And this guy was so in love with this girl puppy. And she told him, hey, I'm just letting you know, in a couple weeks, she will have to get her stitches out. These stitches. Well, why does she have stitches? Oh, just letting you know that we spayed her so that she can't have puppies anymore. And he got visibly agitated. Like, well, why would you do that? I wanted to be able to breed her so that my friends could have all of her puppies. And she's like, well, sir, it doesn't usually work out that way. Usually people who have those ideas end up having puppies and they can't find homes for all of them. And then it just becomes an issue. And he didn't want to hear it. He wasn't interested and he left that day. But a couple years later, she always remembered his face. He came back in a couple years later, surprise, surprise, with about 6 puppies that he couldn't find homes for. So he went to go find another dog somewhere else that he would be able to breed. And lo and behold, not everyone wanted a puppy.
It gets where I was at a bar the other night and I was talking to this girl who said her friend had a what looked like a Frenchie bulldog. It's not, and it's fixed, but because it looked like an expensive dog, someone smashed the window at the grocery store and took her dog because they're stealing dogs for breeding so they can sell the puppies. Long story short, she got the dog back because she went on the news and was like, you have my dog. It's fixed. You can't breed it. Like, go on. And they made such a stink about it that somebody called her and was like, I have your dog. I'll meet you at like grocery store and I'll give it back. And so she called the cops and the girl saw the cops, got spooked and was like, no, you got to meet me somewhere else. Met her somewhere else. She got the dog. But so, yeah, if you have dogs, do not leave them in your cars because people are now literally stealing dogs to breed and sell.
Well, it's also hot. don't do that.
Well, yeah, don't leave.
It's also hot. Don't
stop doing it, you know?
Yeah, the dog should never be, no animal, no child, no dog should ever be in a car. It's unsafe heat-wise. It's unsafe because someone will snatch up that
100%.
dog in a, oh my gosh. I don't know if I ever told you this story. And it started out as cute and cool, but then it got weird.
I love it.
So
Great start.
my brother, they found a little dog in the woods, a Malinois, and the sweetest boy ever. My brother named him Kelev. I call him Kellogg's because I'm annoying. Nice. And I'm his sister. It's my job to annoy him.
100%.
But he's the sweetest boy. And my mom came up with this backstory for him, right? And at first it was like, Mom, that's ridiculous. But her backstory was that, you know, Malinois are usually military dogs, fighting dogs, things like that. My mom genuinely believed that, you know, someone was breeding fighting dogs, but that Kel was too nice. And they just ousted him, just left him, abandoned him in the woods. And like at first we're like, Mom, come on. And then after we kind of thought about it and talked to a few different vets, it's like, oh, that actually is really unfortunately probable. And then I repeated this story when I was in Key West to some people. The same exact thing happened to them. Same exact thing with the same exact ideas of where the dog came from. Showed me a photo of this dog. It looked exactly like Cal. Also a Malinois. Like, and then we started putting together of, oh, this is actually a thing that people do. That is disgusting.
That it happens more often than you think. And that's why there's such a big hate towards breeders. Because, I mean, some breeders, they're honest, good people. Blah. I'm not saying all breeders are bad. But a lot of breeders, if the cat or dog isn't perfect, they will have them put down. They will put them outside. That's why some people, they'll find like a Bengal cat and out in the wild. And they're like, how is this like beautiful, like bred cat just a stray? And it's because it probably had imperfections or something and they just tossed it outside. And it's amazing to me how dark people can be. I just recently, it was a month ago, I got a call or a DM from these people. Long story short, this lady, she was like 90 years old. She had a couple of cats. She passed away. and I guess the HOA or her next of kin put them outside because they didn't have anyone to take them. And
Oh,
so the neighbors have just been taking
no.
care of the cats for a year or two. No one really knows. But the HOA is like, okay, no more feeding the cats. It's a $200 a day fine now if you feed these cats. And I'm like, what are these cats supposed to do? And so I was like, okay. So I talked to the rescue, who is completely flooded right now. I was like, can I please bring these cats? So I go, and it was 2 cats. And it took me 6.5 hours to trap them, bring them. And they're skittish. They're climbing the walls. They just do
Poor
not
things.
cool with people. 3 weeks later, they send me a photo and go, hey, we thought it was 2. It's 3. 2 of them were identical, and they just never saw them at the same time. And I mean, it broke my heart because I was like, I just went in one day and took this cat's entire family and dipped. And he's just been by himself for 3
Oh,
weeks. So 2 days ago, I went back with my buddy Skylar, and it took 5.5 hours. We got the 3rd cat, brought it to the shelter, and I brought it into the cage. And I was expecting a fight because cats, when they smell different, if it's been a long time, it takes them a while. Nope. Open the cage. Immediately, the cat went to his sister and snuggled up against it. And then that cat was no longer hissing at us, was like
oh,
totally fine. We were filming them. They went cheek to cheek immediately. And I was just like, oh, it was such a relief because I couldn't sleep the first night they sent me that photo. I was like, I'm a monster. I took this cat, his family away, but they
poor
are like
thing.
together now. But I'm just like, I can't believe people would just put them outside. Like people would just
Yes.
think they're like, oh yeah, you just take a cat and it'll survive. And I'm like, no, you
No.
can tell the
No.
cats, because my friends who do trap, neuter, return, you can tell the cats that used to have a home as opposed to the ones that were
Yes.
born on the street
Yes.
because they are mangled, they are dirty, they're cut up because they don't know how to live.
No.
You have to learn those skills.
I say this all the time at home, and I joke about it on my stories sometimes. My cats, they would never survive in the wild.
No.
Oh my gosh, they are so spoiled. Vixie, someone could rob my house,
Yeah.
and Vixie would go up to him and be like, "Belly rubs!" Like
Yeah.
they have no idea. Milo, he yells when he runs. He would never catch anything out in the
No.
wild. Like it would hear him coming, and he gets scared if a leaf falls on the ground. Like,
Well, cats in general have a hard time because they've been bred to be house cats.
yep.
So,
Mm-hmm.
there's this misconception that cats in the wild, they're like, oh yeah, they eat all the birds and mice and they're just fat and plump and blah blah blah. And it's like, no, 90% of cats' diet on the street is bugs.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's why there's colony feeders. In one of the groups I work with, Ruva, we do these trips where we go and we donate like $50,000 worth of food to colony feeders. And it's people who literally all they do is feed feral cats morning and night so they can survive. My
Oh.
one friend, he goes by Cowboy, Cowboy Bob, cat wrangler. He does TNR, and he's had 11 colonies that he feeds every single night for 7 years. It's 88 cats, and he
Wow.
goes through $45 worth of food a night just to feed these
Holy
cats. So
moly.
it's really is a problem. That's why like people do TNR and try and rescue these cats because they breed so fast.
Yes.
And it's like people are like, oh, they're fine out there. I'm like, they're really
They're
not.
not. They're not. And it's just gross how disposable people think animals are.
Hmm.
Like it's just I don't understand it. Someone else sent me another story of how like she runs a cat rescue program and it's all nonprofit. It's just cuz she cares so
Yeah.
much. We're at this non-shelter and a shelter or sorry, at this nonprofit and a shelter that they work together. And her mother-in-law has at least 10 cats that she just doesn't really take care of, doesn't get them neutered or spayed or anything like that. So they
Ugh.
just keep reproducing, doesn't take them to the vet, doesn't get them the medical attention that they need. And there was some kind of vaccinations that they needed. I don't think it was rabies. I think it was something else that they were required to have. And if somehow it got found out that the mother-in-law was not vaccinating these cats, and legally they were forcing her. They said, we're either going to take your cats or
Mhm.
you have to go get them they have to get these vaccinations. It is not safe. And so the mom called the daughter-in-law, which is like, hey, you have this cat rescue, will you just do it for me? And the daughter-in-law was like,
Ugh.
well, that's kind of expensive, like I don't have the resources to do that, and I can't really ask any of my vet or shelter friends to just do it for as many cats that you have. And this mother-in-law tried to guilt her and was like, well, I guess if you just won't, I'll just put them all down.
I
What?
you said something. You said we had like Hawaii had a cat problem. Like we have a cat problem in LA. We have a people problem.
Yeah.
There is too many people, and there's so many of them are just monsters.
Yeah.
And it's insane. It's this misconception that, oh, they're a nonprofit and rescue. They get so much funding and they have all the resources in the world. They are struggling. Like
Yes.
that's why
Yes.
I get really defensive. I didn't used to, but now I really go after people who make fun of people who have cats because the whole crazy cat lady, people who work at shelters, they sacrifice everything.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
literally are there all the time and they just don't have the resources to save cats. Like they don't have enough food. They live on donations. And people are like, well, why don't they just take these cats? I'm like, that's like the 50th kitten they've gotten
Yeah.
this week. Like they don't have, there's just not,
There's not enough.
everyone thinks like, oh, there's so much resources.
There's not.
Really not.
There's really not.
Every
There's too
little dollar
many.
helps. Yeah. Every cat helps. Like every foster helps. And everyone's just thinking like, oh, there's so much resources. There's just not. And especially with COVID, people are they're holding their wallets a lot more closed.
Yeah.
People aren't donating like they used to because they're like, no, I gotta, get ready for the next pandemic or whatever's
Yeah.
coming. And so everybody's struggling right now. It's wild.
So have you ever experienced people giving you backlash for what you're trying to raise awareness for and what you're trying to do with the fosters and the shelters? What kind of backlash have you gotten from people?
I mean, every day. The internet is a dark place. And so many people everyone's an armchair activist. Everybody's likes to tap themselves on the shoulder like I could do it better. I got hindsight 2020. I mean, even silly things like when we were in Hawaii. Remember, I left the beach for like 30 minutes and came back and I was like, I found a bunch of fish and I saved them because I was walking to go find.
Yeah.
I was going to find that mama dog that
Yeah.
I never ended up posting about, but we found this stray mom dog and we bought food for her. But I was looking for her and I found this spot where there was like a pond that had dried up and there's just like maybe a centimeter of water and just like 100 small fish just flopping on the sand trying to breathe. And I was like, oh shoot, like I got to do something. So I started digging in the sand and it would fill up with water.
Right.
So I made them like a small pond. Obviously it was temporary.
Right.
I don't know because I think they shut off the river for construction. So
Right.
that's why it was going. And then we were like in a ravine by the ocean. So I couldn't walk them there. But so I did, anyway, long story short, I did that and I filmed it with one hand and I was just going slow because I didn't want to hurt, bury the
Right.
fish.
Exactly.
And man, a lot of comments were like super cool. So many were like, you're just doing this for attention. Why don't you put down the phone, a-hole, and, use both hands? Like, wow, really? You're not going to use both hands to help these fish? And I was like, I could have just walked on by. And it's the same with rescue. People will be like, oh, you only filmed yourself saving those cats for attention. And I will say this, you're darn right. I want that video of me rescuing cats with the donation link at the bottom for the shelter. I want that video to go super viral.
Absolutely.
So yeah, am I going to play like Sarah McLachlan and make you cry and open your wallet?
100%.
You're darn right. Because it's going to
It
help
makes a
those cats.
difference.
I have no shame in that. I'm a used car salesman when it comes to getting people to foster. I'll be like, hey, you should do it. Oh, I don't have the supplies. Oh no, I can get
I'll
you
give it to you.
$450 bundle. Oh, but I've never done it before. That's fine. You got my cell phone number. I'll talk you through it. What? Like, cause it's helping that cat,
Right.
like I don't mind doing that. But some people, they just think, oh yeah, it's super easy. Why don't they just fix the problem? We had a guy, cause West Hollywood finally is doing their own TNR program. They're funding it. So you can get a permit online now. If you live in West Hollywood, they will loan you a trap and you can now go take a cat, get it fixed and put it back outside and they'll pay for it, which is huge.
Right.
But it's a lot of cats, a lot of resources. And we had a guy come to the meeting with, we had the mayor there and all these people. It was a big event. It was 2 days after I had had my jaw broken and I went to go speak at this event because I was like, it's important. I'm going to be there. And if you think I'm talking funny now, you should have seen me on painkillers trying to talk with a broken jaw.
No.
But this guy got there, we're talking about all the resources and how a big step this is. And he stands up and goes, and he's dropping the F-bomb left and right, which I'm not going to do. But he was just like, I don't understand this. Why can't you just get a bunch of vets to volunteer their weekends and just fix all these cats? This is stupid. This is stupid. I don't understand. And we're like, well, you have to pay vets. No
Right.
vets. They're like, there's so many cats. He goes, no, but it's an epidemic. Why don't you guys just fix this? I don't understand.
Not
Bring them in
everyone
and just fix them.
will.
What's the problem? And I'm like, you have no idea how hard it is
Yeah.
to get vets who are willing to do it,
Right.
the time it takes to fix them. And then once you get them fixed, you have to hold them for 24 hours.
Mhm.
And even trapping them, like it took me 6.5 hours to get that cat. It's like the resources and time, people are just like, just get it done. I don't
They
understand.
don't understand.
Yeah, I'm like, this isn't Grubhub. You don't just click a button and it's done. Like everyone wants this instant gratification. So I'd say that's what we get the flack for the most is people are like, why aren't you doing more? Why don't you just solve this? Why didn't you just do this? It's like, you're not there.
You don't
Like,
understand.
you're sitting in your living room in your underwear, yelling at me. Go do something. Collect stamps. I don't care. Like, do something.
There's
But
just so much misinformation
yeah.
about not just trapping these cats, TNR, fostering, sheltering, but then also to make matters worse, like you have these cats that have never had homes before. And to make matters worse, there's so many people that will then surrender pets for the dumbest reasons.
Yep.
Like somebody sent me somebody sent me a story of how typical kitten rescue, blah, blah, blah. And, they have files for all these things so they can, like, see later on when these people come back later on and get another pet or, unfortunately, bring them back kind of thing. And kind of a side note, I'll never forget the look on the shelter's face when after we adopted Vixie or rescued Vixie, we went back and they, like, you could see the fear in their eyes. They're like, how's everything going? Is she good? And we're like, yeah, she needs a friend. And they're like, oh, okay, cool. And that broke me. But anyways, and I'll tell the story about us adopting our cats later. But someone sent me a story of how, they set up this kitten adoption and obviously thought and hoped that it was a forever home. And 10 years later, they saw, and because they pulled up on the file, that's how they remembered. 10 years later, this couple brought the cat back, loved the cat, but they just got a new kitten, and the new kitten didn't really like the old cat that much, so they figured that they would just get rid of this cat that's been with them for 10 years. And that broke my heart.
I hate people so much.
I've been here in LA, this is my second day. I just came in yesterday. My heart hurts because I miss Milo and Vixie so much. So much. I'm even feeling myself tearing up right now.
The people don't understand, like, animal owner surrenders is one of the worst things you can do to an animal.
Yes.
The videos of owner surrenders of people just being like, yeah, I didn't want my dog anymore, so they'll bring it. I saw one where they had 2 dogs for years, and they're like, yeah, we really can only just handle the one now. So they brought and left one and left. And the dog is squealing at the door, shaking because they left. And for days was just shaking in the corner because they don't know why you leave. They don't understand. And I don't think people realize how, like, deep animals actually do love.
Yes.
Like the cat that we left out on the street. I was like, oh, they're going to fight when we bring him back. Nope. Went right over and they snuggled up. And it was like, oh my gosh, I finally found, like, my brother or my sister. And they were so happy. And it's like someone who can just be like, yeah, I don't really care. I'm just going to bring this cat back. You don't deserve animals.
No.
And I want to punch you in the mouth so hard.
I think I told you this story before. I can't remember, but I'm going to tell you again.
Do it.
So there's someone, and you'll meet this content creator at VidCon. But there was a content creator that I was friends with that told me this story about her cat, how she rescued this cat, and the cat's backstory was that this wife adopted the cat for her husband because the husband was not doing well medically and physically, and the husband loves cats. Well, this cat really took to the wife. It's like Harry Potter wand. Like the cat chooses the person.
Yeah.
But so this cat favored the wife. The wife's not really a cat person, and it was a little too lovey and just wasn't interested in having a cat. Just wanted to be with her all the time. So she got rid of the cat. And Jessica was like, oh my God, I will happily take this cat off of the shelters 100%. And now Leia's living her best life.
Good.
Princess Leia. That's her name now. 100.
I'm gonna say my goal in life now, aside from rescuing a bunch of cats, all those kind of things, is it used to be, oh, you're a crazy cat lady. You love cats. You're crazy. You're insane. I am now trying to switch the narrative where if you don't like cats, that is a red flag of personality.
Yes.
You are a sociopath and you should not date these people. And I'm telling you, if someone goes, oh, I don't like cats. Oh, that person's got some red flags. That means they're not patient. It means that they're not caring. They have boundary issues because they're like, oh, every time I run to a cat, try and pet it, it just like swats me away. Like, yeah, because you're a giant, weird looking person running at them. Like, have some patience. But it's a character flaw. Yes. So my goal is, so if someone says, oh, I don't like cats, everybody goes, oh, weird. Don't hang out with that person. Because it's true. Every person I've met that's like, oh, I don't like cats. Unless they've, like my one buddy, really good friend, he liked cats. He's just like, oh, I'm severely allergic. So he would come over, but he would always have allergies. he moved, and this neighbor had an indoor cat. And that cat started coming by because he would go out and have his lunch because he worked from home on his picnic table. This cat started coming up and jumping on the table and sitting with him every day. So it became a routine where he started bringing it chicken and blah, blah.
Oh.
And then over a year started petting it. And now he's no longer allergic.
What?
You can build up an immunity. That's why when people are like, oh, I'm allergic. I'm like, yeah, it's weak genes. Tough it up. Rub some dirt in it. Like, go. I don't care. Like, you can tough it up.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
I didn't know you could get over something like
And they
that.
also have a new thing now. If you raise chickens with cats, they will produce a protein that goes down to their eggs that make it so if you feed that egg to cats, the cats will no longer be allergic or will have that allergy. So,
What?
yeah, I think Purina's making a food with it now. So you can feed it to your cats and no one will be allergic to your cats. Wild, but back
I
to people
didn't try
being
that
fresh.
with
Yeah.
Lizzie.
It's
I wanna
crazy.
try
Yeah,
that
I would
real
definitely
hard.
I love that they're coming up with that because no people can't use that excuse anymore of, oh, I'm allergic. Have you ever been around a cat? Well, I saw one on TV and I was super itchy. Like, go stay at home. Lock yourself in.
Like, I like dogs. Do I want to own a dog? No. But like if I were to see a dog, I would love on it and I would pet it and I want them to snuggle up with me. And then I like to go home and not have to be responsible for a dog. And the difference between dogs and cats is that dogs usually, not always, I don't like doing absolutes, but usually dogs want all the love and all the attention and they want the pet, and you don't necessarily have to worry about like, are they overstimulated or do they need like personal space? Usually, like dogs, obviously, like dogs just like cats have their own personalities, and cats typically do require a little bit more boundaries, do require a little bit more care, love, and affection. And I feel like so many people have this idea about animals, but well, it's just an animal. And so when an animal does need that extra little bit of consideration, it's like, no, I'm not giving that to an animal. And I don't really like that. And I also think that there's such a weird difference between people who say like, people who don't like dogs are like, I'm just not a dog person. But there's a lot of people who don't like cats who are just like so aggressive with it. Oh, I hate cats. Like, oh no, I want cats to be gone. Like, it's just so weirdly aggressive. I don't understand where it comes from. And it confuses me so much.
I don't get it. And that's why I keep telling people, I'm like you have people who hate cats because they want something that will love them unconditionally without having to have any boundaries or any patience. I'm like, that's a bad person. Like, that person has some character flaws.
You would never treat a person like that.
Right.
Like,
and
you wouldn't treat a significant other like
that's
that.
the thing. But they do. Like, the people I've met who like, oh, I hate cats. Once I start to get to know them, I'm like, oh, that carries over to people too.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like, and I always tell people, I actually have a shirt and sweater I sell on my website that I made that says, don't worry, cat people love dogs too. Because if you ask any cat person, do you like dogs? Oh yeah, I love dogs. I just don't want to have to walk it and do this and that.
It's just a lot.
Yeah, but dog people like, nope, only this four-legged creature that loves me without putting in any effort. But you ask a cat person, I'm like, oh, do you have bunnies? I love bunnies. Ferrets, squirrels, this. Like, I mean, I have cats. I feed squirrels every morning on my balcony by hand. I've got my chickens, which for those who don't know, they're either crows or ravens. I refuse. I refuse to pick. So they're chickens. So you can all be. Well,
so there are these birds that gather outside of Nathan's apartment, waiting to be fed. And one day he called them crows, and there were so many people in the comment section that were like, those aren't crows, those are ravens. And then, so he called them ravens, and all these people, those aren't ravens, those are crows. And he's like, you know what? Tell them what you told him.
Yeah, I said, well, I realized I can't make you all happy, but I can make you equally unhappy. So these are now chickens. And I did that in a video that is, to date, for considering I am Nathan the Cat Lady, that is my biggest viral video yet. And it's me with chickens. And it's all over like Turkey now. It's been translated to multiple languages. It was the front page of Reddit for a while. It like 25 million views on Facebook.
As it should be.
Yeah. And it was great. And I was expecting hate because the whole time I'm just being like, I'm going to make you all mad. I'm pissing you all off.
On purpose.
And it got the most
care.
love out of like any video. Everybody's like, that's great. Yeah, that's how it should be. You tell them. And I was like, wow, I got a lot of support for this. But then I go and like rescue a kitten and they're like, really? You picked it up with one hand?
How dare you?
Oh my gosh, why didn't you save 1,000 other kittens? But me being feisty and calling people and telling them I want to make them mad, they're like, oh yeah, we support it.
Maybe that's how we need to like approach fostering. Hey, you. You're
Yeah.
lonely at home. Like throwing like a little
Sad
bit
and pathetic.
You need a
can freeze
cat to
friend.
make you feel better.
That's what it is. Like, hey, you're pretty pathetic. You should get you a cat. It'll make people like you more.
You're so lonely. You know what you need? A
Yep.
friend that
We'll
will
break them
judge
down.
you.
We'll build them up. I like this. I like this.
That must be the way to people's hearts. A
You
little
and
bit
me.
of tough love.
You and me. Let's start
I'm
breaking
here for
people
it.
down.
I'm there for it.
Yeah.
Well, did I ever tell you the story about how I got my cats?
I don't think so, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite stories to
Well,
tell
I would
people.
love to hear it right
So, Avery and I were dating, and he knew he was going to propose, and he couldn't decide if he wanted to propose with a cat or not, because he like knew he wanted to get me a cat and proposed. He just wasn't sure if they were going to be
Yeah.
the same time or not.
Okay.
And he decided that he wanted to get me a cat first because he like didn't want me to have to wait. And so we would always go to the ASPCA that was nearby to play with the animals. Because it's good. It gets the animals in front of
Enrichment.
people,
Yeah.
and it also like gives the college kids nearby a chance to decompress and love on some nuggets. And one day that we went, Avery looked at me. He goes, "Yeah, just letting you know, you can pick one, and we'll take her home." And what? And I got so excited, and I started to look at some of the cats, but then one cat in the bottom right-hand corner, that was her little cage, she would yell if you paid attention to anything other than her. Anything. And I said, you know what? I feel that in my soul.
Yeah.
And
You guys
so
were made for
She's
each other.
I was like, yeah. And I was like, this is my cat. And so I took her out. I loved her immediately. She had that giant orange splotch on her forehead. And I was like, I love you more than anything. And I took her home, and Avery left for a week. She got kennel cough kind of thing, but for cats. And I took care of her myself because Avery went out of town. I nurtured her back to health all by myself. And you know what she did? Picked Avery to be her human. That ungrateful brat.
Savage.
She wouldn't sit with me. She laid and went to sleep on Avery. It was the most offensive thing I've ever experienced in my life.
Mhm.
I was highly offended. Literally, my heart shattered. And Avery was like, that didn't go according to plan. So he went to, when he came back into town, he went to the ASPCA like every day for a week trying to find me my own cat that he just hoped to God would pick me. And he came back one day. He goes, I have good news. I've been going to the ASPCA. I think I found you a cat. It's in a litter of like 5, so we're not just separating a pair. It won't feel by itself. It's a boy cat. He goes, I read online. He said, I've been doing a lot of research on this, and boy cats usually pick the lady humans, and girl cats usually pick the guy humans. He says, so it's a guy cat. He's very sweet and cute and playful. He's perfect. So we go to the ASPCA to get this cat. And Avery, like, as soon as he walks in the door, he just falls a little bit. Like, he's like, no, all the cats from that litter are all adopted except for one. And it's the one where his head is a little too big and his eyes are too far apart. And, like, he's stumbling and is really goofy looking. And I took one look at that thing, and I was like, oh, you're so perfect. I love you so much. And that's Milo.
That makes absolute sense because
Yes.
you taught middle school?
I taught high school.
You taught high school.
Oh, I had the
Yeah.
big kids.
So you got like, because you get in the kids like right as they're going through their awkward
phases.
stage.
Oh,
So you found a
yeah.
cat that was in this awkward stage. You're like, oh, that's
Well,
what
he was
know.
the runt. He was
Right.
definitely the runt, and he's. I would give my life for that cat.
Yeah. 100%.
Oh my God, if someone were to ever break into my house and harm my cat, like that's like a genuine fear.
Yeah. There would be podcasts for years.
Yes,
after,
about-
like, the psychology of like, I don't know
This
what
lady.
snapped in this person, but after they found the rest of the guy and pieced him back together.
Right.
Yeah, no, it'd
like
be horrible.
my biggest fear, even today, like this morning, I experienced it. When I go out of town, the number one fear, because like I'm an overthinker. You know this. I'm a
100%.
paranoid person. What if someone breaks into my house? What are they gonna do to my cats? I will find them.
Yeah,
like
you can't go down that road.
I love my cats. Let
Yeah.
me tell you, I'm also a crazy cat lady. If you haven't noticed,
I love that. And I'm telling you, when I find like, because people are shy about it, I'll meet
Oh, no.
guys and we'll be talking and I'll be like, I have cats. And they're like, oh, Yeah, I have cats. I don't usually tell people because I don't want to, like scare them away. It's amazing. I was at where was I? I was at a New Year's Eve party and I met these two girls and I was with my buddy and we started talking, and the girls were like, "So, what do you do?" And my buddy goes, "Oh, he's a professional crazy cat lady."
I love that.
And I was like, "Of course you started with that." And the one girl, she goes, "Oh, that's so sweet. I had kids or cats when I was younger." I'm like, "I like you." Her friend goes,
friends.
"Ew, gross. So does your house just like smell like pee all the time?"
Oh, no, not friends.
And I was like,
nope.
"Oh, so you're trash. Okay, you can go sit over there the rest of the night." Didn't talk to her the rest of the night. And I think she had a terrible time. And I felt really good about that. But I ended up talking with her friend the rest of the night. And we just like got along. And she was super sweet. And I was, again, character flaw. Because even if I hated, if like I met somebody and they had something that I'm just like, I can't even think of something like I hate like scallops. Like I don't like eating scallops. If someone's like, "Oh yeah, I love scallops," I wouldn't be like, "Oh, that's disgusting.
Right,
What's wrong with you? You're gross."
Exactly.
No. Like I like dogs. I don't like little yappy dogs that always bark. I mean, I'll still love on them, but they drive me nuts. If someone's like, "Oh, I've got like a little yappy chihuahua and it's barking the whole time," I'm not gonna be like, "Oh, gross. What a little rat dog." I'm like, no. I'm like, "Oh, that's cute," because I'm not a horrible person.
Can you imagine, like, there's so many people our age that don't want children. And that's okay. That's fine. Like, I don't know if I
100%.
want kids. That's fine. Can you imagine the outrage there would be if like people who didn't want kids were like, "Oh, you have kids? That's gross. That's disgusting."
Yeah. Like, "Oh wow, nice little snot machine." Like, no, you can't. You don't do that because it's become socially acceptable to do that to cats and cat people. People, because no one's ever like fought back. They're like, "Yeah, no, crazy cat people." So my whole thing, I make so much content just bashing these people for being terrible people because I'm trying to flip the stereotype. I just want to shame them enough that they stop doing it.
Yeah.
I don't want to eventually like flip the tides, the whole pendulum where it's like, okay, now we're going to hate on these people forever. No, I just want to push back enough where they take a second thought the next time they're like, "Oh, I hate cats," that they just go, "Oh, cool. I'm not a cat person,
but
I'm
that's
not much of a cat person, but they look adorable."
Yeah, like I'll just
person.
sit over here on the other side of the room. Like,
just
how hard is it to just not be rude towards something?
It's a weird entitlement that we just need to put a stop to.
It's so strange.
Yeah.
So then what is something like in your line of work when it comes to like TNRs, working with shelters, working through the fosters, growing that, what is something that you've learned on your journey that you've taken away from and think would be beneficial to people listening?
Shelters, people, they not only need, money, food, supplies, they need gratitude. Going on somebody's post who's rescuing cats and saying, "Oh, you just do it for the attention," or "You don't." I mean, I don't think people realize how hard that is. And there's a thing called compassion fatigue, which my buddy talks about, where these people give their heart so much to rescue and feed. And like kittens, you have to be up every 2 hours bottle feeding these kittens. They give so much. And then when people come and they're like, "Oh, you have cats, that's gross," or "Oh, your house smells like pee. Oh, your house." Those little negative comments add up. And a friend a couple of months ago, she was a social media person who brought kittens in and was rescuing them. And, she was just having a really hard time with it. And she would tell me some of the comments she would get of people being like, "Oh, you just do this for attention. You don't actually care." And it just made me so angry that people, the amount of hate she was getting, not knowing the struggles that she was going through. So my only thing is if you're going to comment on someone who's trying to do something good.
Right.
If someone's doing something bad, if someone goes up and does a prank where they trash a store, go after that person, trash that person. I don't care if they're terrible. If somebody is just trying to do something good, and I'm not talking about going up and giving a homeless person $1 in their face and filming it and being like, "Look at what I'm doing." I'm talking about, "Hey, I'm rescuing this cat, guys. What do you think?" Or, if they're trying to do something good, either give them a positive comment or shut up. That's my thing.
It's not
go
that
do something.
hard.
Yeah, scroll. Go. Not everything is for everybody.
Right.
I've had people. Someone got mad because Pickles meowed in a video, and she's like, "My cat is really skittish, and when she heard your cat meow, she got startled and swatted me and scratched. Please put a warning if you're going to have your cats meow in videos." And I was like, my page is Nathan the Cat Lady. There will be cats meowing on my page.
There will be cats.
And so I'm like, the entitlement, and it's just those little comments stick with you. So help shelters, help those people, but if nothing else, just shut up. Say something nice or don't say anything at all. It's an oldie but a goodie,
And I feel like there's the people who are like, well, you're just posting that for attention, because there's been so many, I can't even think of specifics because it's happened so many times where I've gotten the same thing of, oh, you're only posting that for attention, or you're only doing that because you want people to look.
Yeah.
But the issue is, if we don't post that these things are happening, whether it be stories about cats or teachers or bartenders, literally whatever, people wouldn't know these things were happening.
Right.
Like, the whole point is to raise awareness. And if we didn't post it, people either wouldn't know, wouldn't learn, or would just think we're not trying to do good things. Like, it might have even been when I was doing an ocean cleanup with Team Seas, and we cleaned 4,000 pounds of trash from the ocean, which was amazing. And I had a couple comments that were like, oh, and you just had to post about it? And I'm like, well, if I didn't, you would just say I'm not doing anything good.
Oh, yeah.
So, like,
gonna flip side.
There's no winning.
And also, I'm going to say this right now. Is there any post anywhere that isn't for attention? There's not. You think that the half-naked photos with the inspirational quotes are to inspire people? No. I'm sorry. Like, no one's reading those quotes. Like, I'm sorry. Social media is to get attention, to raise awareness, to talk about what you're doing, to like, here's what I'm doing, guys. Would love for people, like, why do you think people get excited about more followers? It's not like, yeah, I get a lot of followers, but I hate them seeing what I'm doing all the time. I wish they would leave me alone. Delete your page. Like, yeah, if I go rescue a cat, hey, I feel really good about this. I rescued a cat today. Hey, guys, I did this. If you don't care, that's great. Swipe on.
And not every post necessarily has to have a giant meaning behind it. Sometimes you just want to post something to post it. Like, I just posted a photo the other day of me just walking down the street. It has no big meaning, but like,
you might delete later.
If you don't like it, then just scroll. And it makes even less sense when it's someone trying to just do something good, clean up the ocean, trap, neuter, release, start a foster program. Like, what is the point of being so angry about it? Like, it just does not, it doesn't make sense. Yeah. And that is the idea that I will leave our listeners with. Do you have any last remaining things that you want to leave anyone that you want to know about fostering or animal shelters or anything? I mean,
if you are, I'm hoping to expand eventually to the whole country, but we're starting small. But if you are in Los Angeles, on the link on my Instagram, or my link tree is the link to become a Nathan's Foster. We'll give you a $450 bundle of stuff to just foster. You're basically, it's the Blockbuster of cats. You borrow a cat for a couple weeks and it gets a home. If not, find a shelter in your area, because I guarantee you everybody needs fosters. Yeah. Every time I post about Nathan's Fosters, I get Maine, Connecticut, Boston, everybody like, we need fosters too, please. And I don't have the time or the resources to promote and help build everybody. But I guarantee you, if you hit them up, they got 10 cats that need a home now.
You can find a local shelter
100%.
So easily. And even if you can't open your home, because I know like Milo and Vixie would not take well to other cats. And that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
But there are people that might not be able to open up their home, that can give their time.
Yeah.
Maybe can give some extra food. Like Vixie, we just got her a whole bag of food that she won't touch. What a brat. Love her. She just won't eat it. That's fine. Can easily just go give that to a shelter or give that to someone that's trying to foster. Like, there are so many things that you can do to help if you want to. And again, not everyone is going to, but if you want to, it's very easy to just call a local shelter and do that.
Bring some toys. Their resources are not endless. They really, they need people. And without the community and without people backing them up, a lot of animals are going to suffer. Absolutely. And I hate to see it. So
do what you can. Absolutely. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
And thank you guys for hanging out with us today. And I hope to see you guys next week. Bye, my lovelies.